I mean, okay, should we talk about the final girl, I suppose, trope?
It's
And
all there's so much too. So, yeah,
the
yeah.
virgin stuff. It's sort of
hmm
codified by Scream finally, I guess, 20 years later,
hmm
where it's directly articulated to the audience in a way that, you know,
Yeah, made everyone experts on the final girl at Scream. Yeah,
yeah.
that's it's a
But I think
thing. hmm
the movies that have the most fun with it, I mean, look, the virgin thing goes back farther than Halloween. It goes back to Bram Stoker.
It goes
And
back to original Halloween. Yeah.
right. And I think that the movies that have the most fun with that sort of premise are the ones that sort of acknowledge kind of how bullshit he is. I'm thinking specifically of the horror classics, The Cabin in the Woods and The Monster Squad.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But
Scary movie. Similar. Yes.
yeah, uh, but I think there are narrative sort of like plot based reasons undergirding why that the virgin stuff sticks with it. Beyond the voyeurism stuff, it's just that the virgin in the friend group is probably going to be the most cautious. Sort
Yeah.
of small C conservative.
Yeah. She's safest.
Yeah.
She wants to be safe.
And then the other thing. This is a whole tangent, I guess, but I was thinking about, how much is this when I'm watching this with the virgin stuff in mind, because it is very like explicit that Laurie Strode is the virgin, gets teased by her friends for being the prude of their group, and the one who doesn't have a boyfriend and isn't hooking up with anybody. She's, I don't know, is she the incel of the group?
No, she's she's
so.
crushing on Ben Tramer. She's into boys.
Yeah.
She's just nervous and anxious and probably not as comfortable with the idea of being an adult as her friends are. And with good reason. Both of them are clearly in their late 20s.
That's
Sorry.
also true. Well, but is it just being an adult because she's the one who embraces like childcare and responsibility and that?
Yes, exactly. She takes all that seriously, which is why I think she's great. Which I think better. That's a bigger deal for me than that she's the smart virgin. I like that she's that she takes care of the kids instead of just running down the street at the end. But no, Carpenter has spoken about this directly, and I pulled a quote from it, which I wrote this down. It has been suggested that I have been making some kind of moral statement. Believe me, I'm not. In Halloween, I viewed the characters as simply normal teenagers. The one girl who's the most sexually uptight just keeps stabbing the guy with this long knife. She's the sexually frustrated one. She's the one that kills him, not because she's a virgin, but because she has all that sexually repressed energy coming out. She uses all those phallic symbols on the guy.
Well, so she's a virgin because she's a virgin.
Yeah, kinda.
I mean, but not because she's morally a superior for that. Is I think what he's getting at. There.
Yes, yes.
Well, the other thing I think about having the virgin be the ultimate protagonist of the movies, the slasher movie, not just this one, but the whole subgenre. I think it does. It makes them more immediately relatable or sympathetic to an audience of, stereotypically, you got the basement dwelling,
of course,
virgins in the audience, but also, I mean, I realized this. I thought about this in different terms, and honestly, we're getting back to incels and everything. I think it's done a lot of damage to us culturally. But just speaking from my own self, I realized that there's something like nothing more alienating for me between me and a movie protagonist than if that protagonist can just get laid effortlessly. Where I just like suddenly don't know how to like how you move through the world is so and that, I mean, that goes so far beyond slashers, but I think it does sort of apply to the like, it's easy no matter who you are, like what kind, like nearly almost about what kind of Lothario you are, no matter how.
No one's a Lothario in high school. I mean, maybe 1%. It's low.
Well, even if you're a Lothario 80% of the time,
right,
the 20% of strikeouts stick with you, and you know what it feels like to be the loser who can't get the date with the person you really want to, whether, no matter who you are almost. And if you're in the bottom half of the dating pool or whatever, then you really you have no idea what it's like to be able to actually get the date. And that is really alienating. That's like, I've been thinking about this, there's nothing I think that puts me off of a protagonist, like I said, faster than when a movie shorthands the thing of like, all right, a guy's out at the bar, makes eyes with an attractive lady, and now cut to they're back at her apartment like later that night or this morning, and you yada yada over the thing that I think is going to like explain to me everything about this character actually. And
Well, it's hard to write that scene that makes sense.
right,
It's not an easy thing to make that.
and if it ultimately
believable.
doesn't matter to the plot, then yes, of course you're going to yada yada over that. But fundamentally, I think there's something to that which is make the same thing that makes the the virgin character sort of more innately sympathetic to us in a slasher context.
Are you saying? I mean, I think you're right, and I think that is something that I honestly I feel like that should be used more for male characters in slasher films.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to see this trope used with male characters in a way, and you don't usually. It's a tough one.
Well, the male characters aren't usually central.
No,
I mean they're the killer, obviously, but because I mean it plays the other thing of the women feeling, in a more traditional patriarchal sense, more vulnerable to us, so they make for the more natural central figure of a horror film where you're supposed to feel disempowered and afraid.
And I mean, I think there's a lot of societal pressure for women to behave like Laurie, to be the virgin. We tell them that's what we want.
And then mock them for
exactly.
it. And resent them.
Well, it's the same with sexually promiscuous women.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like I showed this movie to my wife for the first time. I don't know, like 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. She'd never seen it, and her takeaway, the way she watched it, was like, "Oh, well, this is about being a woman. This is about having somebody, just some unknowable male force out there that wants to like either kill you or fuck you, and you don't know why. That he's just sort of this presence,
or both,
or both in whatever order. This is sort of a primal terror for women. It's why they get used to as kids. Learning how to lace their keys individually between their fingers when they're walking alone, like they're pretending to be Wolverine or something, just because they have to be hyper aware of like, is that guy over there looking at me? Is he following me? And that's just sort of something that's always there for them. And this movie taps into it.
Is he William Shatner?
Yeah.